Hello everyone, and welcome to the new year. It is 2024, and it is January, which means it is time to start preparing for this year's season. We will be racing at the Kartplex again, and my kart is right here. I've already spent some time tearing it down over the past couple weeks. I decided I wouldn't spoil you guys with that boring stuff. There are other YouTubers that can do that. The kart is torn down. Why we have torn it down is to check it for any cracks or breaks in the frame, because as you guys will know, last year I struggled a lot with speed, and there weren't really any things I could figure out as to what was causing that. I had checked for cracks in the past, but the truth was, as long as you're not tearing the whole thing down and deep cleaning everything, you're just not going to find what you're looking for. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time now, and thankfully we found some space in my basement to set up my brand new workshop, and now we can tear down the kart and get a good look at everything, deep clean everything, and that is what we are doing in this video. Let's get going. Okay, so step one, we have dish soap and a rag for wiping down the entire chassis and getting all that gunk off. We have an air tank down here with a little nozzle on the end for blasting all the gunk out. The combination of those two things, hopefully this thing should be squeaky clean. Alright, that only took about maybe 10-15 minutes, but we have cleaned up the kart to the best of my ability. It actually worked really well. This thing is completely clean to the touch, and it's about as good as it's ever looked since I first got it from Margay about 2 years ago. And it's probably about as good as it's ever going to look. The reason we are doing this is because this will help us spot any cracks or fractures in the frame a lot easier than it would if it has a bunch of gunk and rocks on it. And as an added bonus, it'll look really, really good once we put it all back together and everything's all shiny and nice looking again. Next step is let's get a nice powerful flashlight like this, and we look around the entire chassis and see what we can find. Okay, so our inspection of the chassis is complete, and the moment of truth, did we find anything? Yes. We do have a crack. The culprit is this. This is something I actually found as I was tearing down the kart before I even went and did an inspection on it. If you look right here at this bolt where the bearing cassette, if it'll focus maybe, right there where the bearing cassette mounts onto the frame, there's a crack right along there. So that is our crack. I have looked over the entire chassis. I have found no other cracks. All of the welds around here and around there are good. Those are usually stress points because of the engine and the axle. Two front bits are fine. That bit over there, I'll rotate it around and show you. As you guys know, in the last race of last season, I had a pretty big hit on the front left corner that bent a tie rod and bent a spindle. And as I was replacing that spindle, I realized that it actually bent this C-section right here just a little bit. If you draw a straight line up and down on this axis right here, you can tell that the bottom section of that just doesn't quite line up. So it bent it ever so slightly, and if you look very, very carefully down in there, you guys won't be able to see it, but there is a very small hairline crack under there. But I mean, I already put a spindle on there and put it all back together. I mean, even if you really tug on it, it doesn't really want to move, so I'm not really concerned about that right now. And I spoke to others about it, and it shouldn't really affect the balance or the handling of the kart at all. So I'm hoping that is the case, and that is not something we have to worry about. We do have this bad boy to worry about. So this chassis, as it sits right now, is going to get sent off to Margay to get that fixed. And then once that is back, then we can start putting this thing back together again, and yeah, start cleaning everything, and hopefully by the time March rolls around, we'll have a cart. Okay, so while the cart is off at Margate getting fixed, I wanted to go over a couple of things that have already been done and that I plan to do with the cart with you guys. First of all, the engine. The engine is right here. It has already been rebuilt by the one and only Mike Gadberry. All the same stuff that was done last year was done to it this year. So huge thanks to Mike for getting all that done. And now I have absolutely no excuse for any power loss issues that I might have this year, because this engine is good as new. Secondly, on a not so good note, my new setup here has been a bit troublesome. There has been a little water leak right up there, and that water leak decided to position itself in the exact place where I decided to sit my rear axle on the floor. The victim was my brake rotor. And so now my brake rotor and maybe a couple other things have been rusted. The good news is most of it just looks kind of surface level stuff that might come off. So I'm going to dig out some brake clean and try and blast some on here, and if that doesn't work, see what else I can do. This looks like something that should be salvageable. It doesn't look too bad, but if it isn't, then I'm just gonna have to get a new brake rotor. We'll have to do this, and then we'll have to do my brand new socket things, which have also been rusted. Lastly, this is my throttle cable, which has been on the cart ever since I bought it back in 2022. It's a bit worn down, mainly toward the end here. Somewhere along here is where the throttle line meets with the little thing that feeds it into the tube that takes it to the throttle body in the engine. If that's not totally clean, or if the throttle line itself is a little bit chewed up, then it can get a little bit choppy and your throttle input won't be very smooth. And over the past year or so, I've been experiencing that a lot, where my throttle has kind of been a bit choppy and hasn't been very fluid, which is what you want. So I decided, since it's not a super expensive thing, that I'm just gonna toss this and get a whole new throttle cable, which will be fresh, and with everything all cleaned out, then it should be feeling good as new once that's back on the cart. Then the last thing I'm going to do is the wheels. So with all of the wheels, not so much this one, but maybe a couple of the other ones, some of them still have a little bit of scratches on them, so I might need to touch them up a little bit, kind of like what I did last year, and I might do a little bit of repainting. Not sure if I'm just going to do the same black again, or if I'm going to do something that'll go a little bit more with my new livery. We'll do all that. This will get cleaned up, because right now it kind of looks all gunky and nasty. But we'll start with this, because this is the most important. Fail. Okay, so that didn't work, and I don't really have any other immediate solution for that right now, so we're just going to put a pause on the brake rotor project for right now, and we are going to focus on the wheels. Okay, so here's our first set of wheels. These are the ones that I barely even used. These have the silver lip on them, and since these were not really used all that much since I last did them, all I should really need to do is just clean these up and then repaint this section black. And then we should be good with these. What is your deal? Why are you so pouty today? Goodness gracious. Alright, the wheels are done. And this is what they look like. This honestly turned out way, way better than I originally thought it was going to. So I did the same thing that I did last year. Put a black layer around the entire outer lip of the wheel to get rid of what was silver before. Then I did the outer lip in a metallic aluminum color to kind of give it a chrome finish. And then to kind of add a little bit more to it, I added a red stripe on the inner barrel. So that when you're looking at it from this angle, it looks chrome, and when you're looking at it kind of head on, you can see that red stripe. To make it a little bit of a different design, and it turned out really, really well. It looks so, so good. I haven't done the other set of wheels yet. They're still just the regular black. So I'm probably just gonna leave them like that until I get the whole cart together to see if these actually work well with the design I have, or whether I just prefer them to be black. But these turned out really, really well. I would highly doubt I'm not gonna like having these on here. So that is awesome. That's done. Paint's drying. Now, amidst the time I spent painting the wheels, I also went and got some steel wool from Menards and started working on the brake rotor. Tried very, very hard to get as much off as I could, but as you can see, it still didn't fully recover, and it's been on there enough where it's just corroded it just a tiny bit, enough to the point where it's just gonna be more worth it to just buy a new rotor. Whenever I go to Mark A to pick up the cart, I'm gonna have to buy a new rotor. I might end up buying some new pads with it just so everything's kind of leveled out. That'll be a question I ask them when I get there. Here's a list of things that I'll be getting from Mark A when I pick up the cart. 1, new brake rotor. 2, I'm gonna get nuts and bolts kit, kind of just some extra bolts and stuff for the K3. Just having that and then some spare parts in case anything gets lost throughout the season, I think will be a good thing to have. There's that. I might go ahead and pick up my sets of tires while I'm there as well. And I think that's about it. Yeah. So we have finished the teardown of the cart, and we are working our way towards resolving all of the issues that this cart has had, so that hopefully with all of the new pieces we have, we will be able to piece this cart together once it comes back from Mark A, and that is what you can expect in the next video of this series, where we rebuild the cart from a bare chassis all the way up to a working go-kart that we can hit the ground running with in 2024. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.